Hello, my name is Isaac Sharp, and this is the final presentation for the Assemblies of God History, Missions, and Governance. Today we're going to be talking a little bit more about the governance of the Assemblies of God and breaking down what that looks like on the large scale and what that looks like inside the smaller scale churches that we have. Structure. How the Assemblies of God is structured as a denomination is we have Christ, of course, at the head of everything. Christ is the head of the global church, whatever denomination you're going to be in, especially Assemblies of God, Christ is the head of it. Number two, we have elected leadership on a national level to where you have the council members and elected leaders along the way there. And when we go down to the local assemblies, we have what are called general council affiliated churches, and those are churches that are kind of self-governing. They're self-supporting. They don't need any outside support. And we also have district affiliated churches, and they're churches that aren't quite at that level to where they can just be out there on their own. They still need a little help and support from the district, and those are the two different kinds of affiliated churches we have. Going on, inside the specific churches, there's qualifications to be a leader at any particular church. Now, we get those qualifications from the Pauline epistles mainly, and also in Acts chapter 6, verse 3. Leaders are called to be filled by the Holy Spirit. So how Christ is the head of our church, we out here on earth can do nothing without the empowerment of the Holy Spirit and be effective for ministry. So that's going to be one of the main qualifications of being a leader in the church. And in Timothy, 1 Timothy and Titus, among other places, Paul gives specific qualifications for being an elder or an overseer of a church. And really what those qualifications focus on is they focus on a man's character and how he upholds himself, and also his experience. Paul says to not let anyone who is new to the faith be an overseer lest he get puffed up on himself and it leads him to fall. And the character qualifications, you have to be, self-controlled. You have to rule your household well, not given to much wine, among other things. But what these are really doing is they're showing the kind of character that a man should possess when he's an overseer of the church. And it's also said that he has to be held in high regard by the community. So not only does he have to have the good qualifications to be an elder in the church, but outside of his church life, and while he does other things, maybe he's a bivocational preacher, but he has to be in good standing with the community. There can't be charges against him or anything like that. And we move on and we see the historical church governance of the Assemblies of God. So we have, we're a congregational denomination by tradition. And what that means, we're congregational in terms of church governance, is going to be that you are controlled, ruled, and kind of guided by the members of the congregation themselves. So the members of the congregation are going to vote on who the pastor is. They're going to vote on who the elders are. And on major church issues and changes in the church, they're usually going to have a vote as dictated by the bylaws. Now, some churches are different to where they don't have to have votes for everything that happens. And then sometimes if a church's bylaws are a little bit older and maybe very specific, they're going to have more votes on things. So that just kind of varies church by church. But what we mostly see in churches is after they elect a head pastor, they're going to kind of let him and the elder board as well kind of lead and guide the church throughout the day-to-day functions. So no one's always voting on like what the sermon message is going to be about or things like that. And then we're going to move on and we're going to talk about the AG positions amongst the Christian community. So there's different denominations for a reason. There's different beliefs that certain groups of people have, and they form together and make churches and denominations about that. Some key things that the Assemblies of God isn't necessarily different on, but some position that they hold among other denominations of churches are, we're Protestant, which means that we believe that you can have a direct relationship with God, doesn't have to need any intermediary to go in between you and God. We're Trinitarian, so we affirm that God exists in one being in three persons. There are three aspects of that same being. We're evangelical, so we have a mission and a call to preach the good news and the gospel to all the world. And we're also Pentecostal, which really is that teaching of the fullness of the Holy Spirit, not only in ministry, but in your everyday life. That's going to be taught, and it's going to be a teaching emphasis point in an Assemblies of God church. And not only is it going to be that fullness of the Holy Spirit, but you're also going to have the initial evidence of the baptism of the Holy Spirit be speaking in tongues. Is going to be a position that the Assemblies of God would hold. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you have a great day.